Hey guys, this is Turek, and in this video I'm going to be reacting or reviewing One Piece chapter 1188. And this one we're getting we got actually the fight between Emu and Luffy here. I expected us to cut away from this and go back to Zoro and the others or stuff, but I'm starting to actually see what like the how see how Oda's doing this. It's very predictable in a way. This is going to be where the initial fight between Emu and Luffy before we go back to Zoro and Sanji and stuff. So the next, like, I expect like 4 or 5 chapters or so will probably focus on some of their fights with Sanji and Zoro before we come back to Luffy. Like we'll get bits and pieces of it, but they're doing this. Oda's doing this again, where it's gonna be we'll get into it here. I don't want to spoil the thing here, but uh, also I'm wondering though if we'll get like a flashback before we go to this, because Oda's also like hinting at this stuff with Emu, and then like his it does appear here that what Emu's showing from what we're being seen through Oda is that Emu and Joy Boy, like Emu probably fought Joy Boy and finished off Joy Boy himself, and so, but there's something here he's kind of relishing about this, where it's like he's remembering these things, and it's kind of like you can kind of see here too. What's going on is that Emu's kind of like been in power for so long that things are becoming boring, that like now that has to fight for what he's gained, he has to he's thinking about, oh, this brings back memories, and this is it's kind of giving me a feeling that Emu didn't really gain this position like on his own, like other people may have put him up to it, and he's like, okay, well, I'll do it reluctantly now because I need to, and the people need me. It's the old school politician thing. Well, I don't want to lead the people, but I'll do it for the good of our country type thing. um, and now though, he's gotten complacent and bored, and now he's like his blood boiling. Like, oh, this is the guy that challenged my ideals and stuff like that, and now I have to fight him. I had to fight him back because he was gonna ruin my worldview, and the world's better for it. That's what I can't get over too. I can't get over this idea how Emu thinks yeah, and that's right. I was kind of saying with this with the last chapter too. Like they keep going into this and that there's something here that's similar to other villains like this or antagonists, where they think the world order is better if there's a strict hierarchy, and they have to be the one to keep it in order. Otherwise, everything falls apart. There's this whole order versus chaos stuff going on here, where the order has to be held by a single person with unilateral power, a dictator of sorts, if you will, who can make decisions as they wish, but and they can do it on a whim. But in this case, with the other kind of villains like this, they show up in an anime. The whole thing too is they think the hierarchy is a necessity for order, and then you have a character like Luffy come in, and they think, no, if we um, the caveat too, I gotta say, is the double-edged sword is that this person who has that unilateral power, when they're in power for so long and they want to keep things nice and neat, they have to get rid of other oh shoot, can't think of the word, things that make their ideal world um cause conflict to that, and then they have to get rid of those people in ways that aren't so nice, and then but they won't sully their hand most of the time. So you got like, that's why I think Lucci is starting to realize this, that way, like recently, like he's like a tool for the government, and he's the one that they get send in when they have to, when the government wants to clean up a mess and say, oh well, we don't want to be seen as doing something naughty, so just send in Cypher Paul. Oh yeah, we want to go do something in in Water 7, we want to they got a way to generate the way the story they would tell. We want to get that thing from the iceberg, but we don't want to look like we were doing anything wrong. He's one of our allies after all. It's the same bullshit over and over again. This whole foreign policy from people who are big dogs. You can look at stuff that goes back in the Britain and America has done all kinds of stuff, other countries too, and you go back to Rome and other places, and they always like, oh well, we have to. You go with like Julius Caesar and the others. He saw, well, he was doing it for money too, but there was like something going on at one point where like there's problems in the off our area, and we have to get involved so if it doesn't affect us. It just over and over again, and Oda's doing it so good here where Emu's just thinking, I have to have control over this to make sure everything's just right. But there's something here too where it kind of hinted at them knowing each other before, and it kind of is suggesting to me the initial they're doing that kind of he's doing that kind of thing too. You see with stories where like the two of them may have been buddies with different ideologies and they spar together, and you can see Emu saying, oh, you seem like Joy Boy, but are you really? So it's very it's like that that reminds me best of like Smallville, as far as a TV show, the American one, the where Clark Kent and Lex Luthor are friends initially and they're slowly breaking apart. And then it also reminds me kind of I haven't finished or caught up on a bit. I was reading Black Clover earlier this year, and I'm sensing that there's going to be something like that with the two main characters. I can't remember their names now, but they got the kid, the main one. He's got the Luffy energy, and he's got like the anti magic sword thing, and his best friend, and they're both orphans together. Is uh really good at magic, and they both seem very. That kid reminds me of Emu, and then the main character reminds me of Luffy, and it just feels like they're slowly gonna set up this kind of Emu Luffy setup where eventually they're gonna have to face each other. Bleach kind of had it too with Yoru and Ichigo, where they kind of they set them up to be enemies right away though because of their uh, um, alliance toward like the Soul Reaper and Quincy. But that was something I was always like, I always found that a little frustrating because Ichigo was not like a um, Soul Reaper by decision. He just gained those powers and he didn't know why. And then Yoru just kind of said, "Oh, well, if you're a Soul Reaper, you're automatically my enemy." Stuff. Anyways, I got way off topic here. Let's get into this now. So this chapter is going to be their fight. When we go back to a little flashback again, where a phone call happens. Actually, when they start doing this, I think Oda might be setting up a parallel here with there was something there earlier with Loki and that other person he's talking to that we haven't learned that person's name yet. And there's like this phone call here where Emu's being called. Joy Boy's calling Emu, and he's like, "Oh, who are you?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm Joy Boy." And there was a thing before too with that, and that's where I was bringing up like, oh, it seems like they're gonna set up a flashback, but I feel like they're gonna wait on that. Like when I keep saying they, I mean Oda is gonna do that, but like I feel like Oda is gonna do that another flashback, but not just yet because we just had Brooks mini flashback that was setting up this stuff with the Oda's setting something up too with Gunko and what her importance is. And so again, Tekking 101 really made a good point of this. He's noticing. He noticed, and I now that he said it, I keep missing this until now. I kept missing this. Emu is not really seeing Luffy and Loki for who they are as individuals, and that's a nice parallel because Luffy's always like, I'm me, and because Kaido kind of did the same thing too. He's like, oh, who are you? Your powers are weird, and now Emu is even more like this. He's remembering foes from his past. Like what do they call that? Ghosts of the past or something like that. There's a saying like that, and Emu is doing this very definitely represents this kind of idea like that where he's like thinking, oh, he can only see the person that was in that power, had those powers before, the power specifically. So had seen Ragnar he a few chapters ago, or more than a few, went before Brooks flashback, he recognized Ragnar right away, and there was like said he pointed out, oh, Ragnar, I know you want to like get back at me for something that happened before. So what's going on here is he keeps thinking about what he's saying to himself. Why are these certain memories coming back to me? What is the importance of these memories and stuff? So he can't. He's basically sounds like he's. I was saying something earlier about this. Like he's been so desensitized by the ages that he's coming. All these things are coming back, and I think what's starting to happen here, he's starting to feel conflict with his decisions, and maybe even feeling a little guilt with stuff that happened in the past, and seeing Luffy there and seeing Logia both bring these back up to him. So they start fighting here. He says that aloud, and Luffy's like, how should I know? And it's the same thing from in the last chapter. Why are you calling me the other names? I'm just Luffy. And so Imu does this attack where the flames start flowing around him, and he tries to punch at Luffy, and Luffy does this thing. He did this before. Which fight was it, with Lucci or Kaido? He did the thing. I think it was with Lucci. He took his head and he was picking it up and going woo woo, moving it around. And this time he just like uses his head to go downward. He just automatically, he doesn't even use his hands this time, and he ducks down. And then we're seeing the sentience of the Emu's flames, and I'm like, wait a minute, he dodged, and then they start following him. So what's becoming clear too here is that you'll see is that Emu's powers have some interesting versatility that are giving Luffy trouble. And so you get this shot right here, for example, where the flames are able to extend the way Luffy does when he uses his arm, like especially with his was it Python? The one he used against Doflamingo and Katakuri, where his hands would zigzag at right angles and follow the person he wants to focus on. And Emu's flames go down and eventually catch up to Luffy before he can make another. He started a good dodge as Emu came straight at him, and he went. Luffy put his head down, but then they followed him, and then they explode. And this is the thing too. I'm noticing too. We brought this up before, and we, like other people, I saw. I think I brought this up, and I know Tekking did, and others, like the ability Emu's doing, that the way it's damaging people. He has a similar Mr. 5 thing going on again, and that's like Luffy's gonna have to be very careful here, because like blades are the main weakness to Luffy, because he's rubber, so he can, when he gets attacked usually by blunt objects that don't use haki, he can tank those attacks and they don't do anything. But now he's got I don't know, they think of a fight between him and Zoro, like who's gonna win. Zoro has an innate advantage because he wants to use a sword against Luffy. Yeah, so you can start seeing here, Luffy's starting to mess up in this round. He's letting his anger get to him, it seems. So in this next shot here, he comes back up and he starts trying to swing at. Nope. Yeah, he swings at Emu, but Emu immediately dodges the attack and gets behind him. And yeah, this is definitely something that I think has happened before with Luffy. He tends to if he loses his cool, he can't hit anyone. That was one thing I noticed when he fought Lucci. The one thing that Lucci did well when he fought Luffy and Egghead is anytime Luffy tried his jet Gatling or other Gatling types of, not Gatling, the jet pistol, Lucci was successfully dodging all those attacks without any problem. And so only when Luffy went really wild with his unique stuff did Lucci have a hard time here. But the thing here is, I think Imu, because he's fought Joy Boy and Luffy has these same powers from what he's implying. Imu's implying like, oh, I know. Why are you like this? All the stuff he's saying. He's basically like knows what Luffy's gonna do here. So far, Luffy's doing all these things that he must have seen Joy Boy do as well. So Luffy's really gonna have to like do something even more wild to throw him off. And so yeah, he starts using his like jet Gatling attack here. And I don't know what this one shot is though. He does. Oh no, I see. Okay, he tried to skewer Luffy, and Luffy did dodge it right there. But then Luffy gets behind him and tries to use the jet Gatling, and then Imu starts spinning his Bicento, deflect the attacks here. And you can see Luffy's frustration here. So what we're starting to see here too is that Imu really is like uh, much faster than what and stronger than we like when he dodged Zoro and Sanji's attacks, he wasn't just catching them off guard. He is like his power is like much higher where his overall physical abilities seem really good. And so Luffy's really gonna have to step it up here. So then Luffy's trying to. Emo takes his flame out and starts shooting these little fireballs at Luffy, and Luffy's doing his little Sonic run to avoid them. And it's like, God, this is close. What am I doing wrong here and stuff? And then Emo keeps sending some, and so then he sends a plethora of other fireballs at Emo sends them at Luffy. So Luffy at this point understands he can't let these flames get near him. This is one of the biggest thing here. I'm thinking about like is Oda gonna produce a story reason these things can't be swept off, or if Luffy's gonna have to like remember like to cut himself in hockey. This is something he only ever did. Oda ever showed us with oh, I forgot the other guy's name at Punk Hazard, and then the same with Pika. They coated themselves in hockey, armored hockey, very visibly, and it didn't help them. And then when we got Big Mom and Kaido, we realized their innate hockey was so strong, their bodies prevented them from getting harmed until Luffy learned how to use advanced armored hockey. And I'm wondering if there's something here Oda's going for with these flames. So he fired them at Loki and Luffy in the last chapter, and they got caught on them. I talked about how he seemed to use them like a homing mechanism to fire his sword skewing type technique on Loki, and then he tried to use it on Luffy, and Luffy just threw off the cloak he had on. So, but Luffy's getting that how that has to be avoided. So he's trying to hear this is like jet Gatling them, which works, but it's like then you're taking up time deflect this attack, and I'm thinking there must be a better way to deal with this than that, so that you can get in another attack on him. Because like the more what Emo's really doing here reminds me of like a it's like a boss in a video game. He's slowing you down with these certain attacks that he can do indefinitely, and then the more you try to just deflect them, he can just like getting a subsequent attack that you won't be ready to dodge because you're being distracted by these. So Luffy's gonna try a new technique here, a new transformation really, and I don't know what he was going for with this, but it was really cute from Oda's perspective of trying to like draw something different, and he transforms himself into a, a genie of all things. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe Oda was a fan of Aladdin, and he comes out with he got the whole thing on. He's got the turban on, he's got the flowy, he's got no legs there, and instead he's got the little clouds and stuff. So he's kind of boasting here though too, saying, "Oh, I saw you fight with Loki," and I'm thinking, oh, he's thinking, "Oh, I know how to fight you. Your flames aren't gonna work on me because I know that's what you kept doing on Loki." But there's a little comedic moment here where he's like, "Oh, I won't let his death be in vain," and then Loki's over there still like, "Hey, asshole, I'm still alive." And then Luffy turns around like, "Oh, hey, I thought you were dead." So yeah, I don't know if this attack was meant for Luffy, but Emu fires more of his fireballs at I thought he was firing them at Luffy, but it might not have been. Maybe he intended this for Loki, and he does fire them. They do end up heading. These fireballs start heading toward Loki, and Ragnar's still there trying to make sure Loki is okay. And he jumps in front of Loki and does the kind of, oh, I'll take it for you. And then, but Jinbei comes up out of nowhere because like to remember, Loki is right there near the group. He's over there where the group is with Brook, Frankie, Usopp, Nami, and Jinbei are. They were trying to get um, Gunko out of the ice, and so when he landed when Ragnar touched the ice block, it's reversing the spell of sorts, his power. But Jinbei comes in and he's protecting Loki here. So then we get this thing where like Jinbei says, I thought this was a little weird. Like Jinbei just already protected him. Then he's like, Luffy, do you want me to continue to protect him? And like, oh, is he our enemy or not? And Luffy's like, oh, but Luffy just says like Luffy's not. The answer is like, of course Luffy's gonna want to protect him. He's like hasn't been mean to him. You have to like try and kill one of them or someone kill someone or something before Luffy's gonna really like say no, he's awful. But Luffy's never gonna want someone to be killed anyways. Somebody made a good point once. I saw somewhere like, oh, Luffy doesn't try to kill anyone because if he kills that person, he kills their dreams. He uh there was a good thing about that too. So I just thought there was a scene where like of course Luffy's gonna say that. You don't even have to ask Jinbei because Luffy doesn't want anyone to get killed, even like the worst enemies he's ever fought. But so Luffy goes, yeah, please keep protecting him, Jinbei. He's my pal. And this is funny too because you really start seeing how Oda's setting up a Goku Vegeta moment here, where like Goku, Luffy's obviously very similar to Goku, but Loki is definitely given this Vegeta vibes where him and like so Zoro has a lot of Vegeta vibes too, and it's also if you watch the dub of the anime, it's the same voice actor. I can't think of his name now, but like Zoro and Luffy get along very well. But this is this kind of thing where Loki's just kind of like, oh, I don't have any friends, and he does that kind of stuff here, and he don't like being called pal and other slang terms like that. And he just keeps calling Luffy a pipsqueak and other things like that. Just because it's funny because I think Loki is a bit older, both figuratively and literally than Luffy, but he's definitely got that. I think the main thing here is like I can't figure out which way he's aiming for with that, where he's like thinking, "Oh, this is kid." I think it's more like that, where it's. I can't help but think it's the other way because Loki's over 60 years old, but so and he probably knows that, and I think he kind of would want to abuse that kind of shit, throwing his weight around like I'm way older than you humans, but at the same time, he is if uh, by human age, then I would put him like in his Oh wait, no, it wouldn't. I was thinking he would be more like 28, but no, he's probably more like just 21, 22. So he's not that much older. So maybe it is more the other way. But also he's a giant, so he's thinking, oh, this kid, this little thing guy is calling me a pal and things like that. And has even because even Colin is older than Luffy and the others, most of the other Straw Hats at this point. That mean like the younger ones. So just trying to figure out what Loki's going for with that. So Nami and Usopp see Luffy and I keep trying to say Loki see Luffy in his genie form, and they're like, "Wait a minute, that's Luffy? What the hell is he doing now?" So he's continuing to amaze them too. Like they're still trying to wrap their heads around his power and what he can do. And then Usopp's like, "Wait, that's who's he fighting too? Is he gonna be all right?" And this is one time where I think Usopp's survival instincts are correct. Like usually when Usopp does this stuff, it's like you had Kuro and you had some other people you went up against, and they're dangerous. But it's like it was always like Usopp, you can fight them, you can you don't have to be afraid of them. It was always kind of like his cowardice always felt a little over the top, basically. But this is the one time where it's like, okay, he's perceiving a foe where it's almost like, I guess, where he knows how strong Luffy is now, and he's realizing, oh, Luffy, you better be careful. My survival instincts, my the hair bristling in the back of my head is definitely going over the top here, and I appreciate having someone like Usopp around at this point, like saying, hey, don't mess around with this. I'm I'm afraid of everything, but at this point, it's like Usopp's like, I may have been over exaggerating and dramatic about some of the things I was afraid of in the past because I didn't know my own worth. But now I'm like, my instincts, because he's got really good observation hockey now too, mostly with like his future stuff and stuff. But like, I just feel like that can tell him dangers now. It's like an animal instinct to Usopp to like really, that always works for him because he is physically weaker than comparatively to these other characters that really like, well, save his life, save his skin. And I think he's correct in his point, thinking, oh God, what is that sensation I'm getting? This is like just over the top from even like Kaido and Big Mom, because he was right in front of Big Mom. And did he see Kaido close up? I don't know, but he saw Big Mom close up back in Wano, and it's just like he really knows the more, it's like the more he gets, it's like he's got a log of things of people he's seen are dangerous, and he's now really thinking even Big Mom seemed like nothing to this probably to him. It's just so now Brooks uh 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 thinking to himself, wait a minute, I thought the people higher than the gods and knights were only the five elders. That's what Vegapunk was telling us. Like, what's going on here? And then Usopp's hearing him say that, and he's like, "You're right. So maybe he's the commander of all the knights. What's going on here?" And now Brooks just thinking about this stuff because he's remembering those memories are coming back when he was at that the scene where Gonko was taken from him, and he saw that weird. He saw it was Mars, I think. Wait, how did that happen? It was like Mars, but also Emu was there possessing him, and he was like, now he's thinking back, like I saw something weird that day, and now I'm fully realizing what I'm seeing today. There's something going on here, and he says there's no more group, no group in the whole world more shrouded than them. There's something going on here. So I really like how they're do what Oda's doing here too, is like he's putting together these other straw hats who are more perceptive and wise in the way of the world. We got like Brooke and Jinbei and Robin are like the best ones with this most of the time, and Frankie's not too bad. He's shabby either. He doesn't pay attention to stuff that are like gonna slowly be like the ones I think later to like piece together. Okay, there are these shadowy figures going on, and there's stuff we've heard over the years, and they're gonna piece it together. So Frankie then brings Brooks' attention back to him, saying, "Hey, Frankie, the ice is almost melted completely. We gotta catch her. Get ready." And then Brooks turns back like, "Oh, you're right." And so he's like, "Oh, that's right, Princess Shuri." So Frankie's keeping an eye on her. I like how they do those little things like this too. I like how Oda does this little stuff where like the other characters like it really is like it's just little things like this I really appreciate from Oda, where like a character is doing something very considerate. So everyone else is like watching, while everyone else has been watching the fight between Emu and Luffy. Frankie's been keeping an eye, or like at least one eye on Shuri, and he brought Brooke's attention back. Like, hey, Brooke, I don't mean to distract you, but come here. She's about to come out. We gotta get ready to catch her. And I just really appreciate it. Frankie's always very good that way. Um, so I think this is supposed to be Brooks saying, "Oh, what's the next step? What does one do with a frozen person?" And then this is probably supposed to be Usopp or Nami, because they bring up, oh, well, Robin and Luffy got frozen that one time when Aokiji did it to him, and then someone else was like, one of the other ones are like, wait, they've been frozen before? What are you talking about? Because yeah, Brooke, I think that right. Yeah, that was before Frankie, Brooke, or wait, what did I just say? Yeah, it was Frankie or Brooke were there, not there at the time. So that must be, oh yeah, that must be Nami or Usopp saying that, and they're both. One of the others probably thinking, okay, what did we do last time? Chopper was there at the time to help. Did that? He had to thaw them slowly. Like I forgot how he did that. So now we go back to Emu. So he looks so yeah. There's something here interesting. I think this is where Oda's gonna probably have Emu get hurt. Um, so Emu fired that a fireball at Gunko earlier, and we thought she was dead. But now he's like thinking, wait a minute, Gunko's still alive? I shot her earlier. How could I not break the ice? First, he goes on to say, like, a man with an afro calling Gunko Princess Shuri? Wait, how could he still be alive? So there's two great things here. I guess I'll go over the Brook part first. Emu's probably thinking, wait a minute, how could some human still be alive? What power could do that? So there's something here too where I think Emu is underestimating the. This is where I like the fight with him and Luffy a lot too. He's underestimating human imagination, ingenuity, and stuff like that. And this is where Frank Vegapunk's thing came up earlier in his arc. That was like, oh, uh, the devil fruits came from mankind's desire to do this, that, or the other thing. And so he's thinking, how could someone still be alive? That was 70 years ago. Well, no, it wasn't quite that. But like, how could he still be here? Like, I thought he was dead. So no, he might be thinking about an age. He might just be thinking, oh, I thought Gunko killed him. The other thing here is the ice thing. I think the chink in his armor, so to speak, here is that maybe Loki is gonna probably be the one to do like a finishing blow to Emu here, because if he's clearly thought that flame attack hurt was gonna be enough to kill her. Let's find what chapter that was in. So that was in chapter 1180. He did that. He did a thing with his Bicento. It looked like he kind of like Oda drew it like he cocked a shotgun and loaded a round in the thing, and then he fired something at her, and it didn't work. So the thing there with the ice, it does seem like the whatever ice thing that Ragnar can produce might be something that's so powerful even Emu's Omen flame things can't work. Um, so while he's uh, contemplating that, little Luffy's like, "Wait a minute, what are you doing looking away from the battle? I'm gonna go get you." And he comes in with a hockey fist, and I do like there's a hockey fist. That was one thing that was always bothering me too earlier, especially Kizaru when he grabbed him. Oda didn't draw the hockey attack, but I like that he's showing that stuff here because he's realizing, oh, I need to really try my utmost here to hurt this guy. But unfortunately, he must have good observation hockey, or maybe Luffy. I think part of this too is he brings up here about uh, Luffy's size. So there's always that thing too where like giant characters are usually slower. So maybe they're hinting at that, like, oh, I like Luffy shouldn't even have tried that form. And so, anyways, Emu blocks the attack, and he prepares that attack in like this. And I didn't notice this until I saw what other people pointing it, that he does this thing where it looks like a bell. I brought this up with the flame thing a while back when he first did this, but it's like a little bell thing going on here too. And so when he does this, it seems like I don't know if he's shooting in these ones now, or they just can manifest where he looks at. The anime will probably help with that. And he does that, and then the flames now show up again on Luffy, just like they did in the last chapter. And and then Emu kind of chastises Luffy, saying, "Oh, said you were watching the fight earlier, but did you not pay attention to what Loki's greatest weakness? Oh, his giant size." So he's pointing out here that Luffy should not be using these kind of forms, and this was something that Kizaru said too when he fought Luffy. But Luffy did find a way to like he did a thing where Kizaru came at him, Luffy just blew him away with like sucking in air, and so he tries that stigma attack again, but Luffy at the last second does catch on to that, and he transforms back into his normal form and starts swinging away here. But then Emu starts doing again. He brings up the more of the flames. Now he does the palm one again this time, and Luffy is able to run from these, but they start following him. So this is something too. I always notice that whenever there's a character that can do projectiles, they always show them being very dangerous unless you're super duper fast. My first thought is like Byakuya Kuchiki, the captain in one of the Soul Reaper captains in so, Bleach is like this too, where he has all those. His sword turns into a bunch of petals. His Zanpakuto. So Luffy's got this problem here too. Like this feels reminiscent a bit of the fight with Crocodile too. Luffy has to be careful with these guys. He's got like a area of attack, a range of not range of motion, area of effect attacks and other things like that. And Luffy's having a very hard time with this. It's kind of the same thing with Kaido a bit too. So while Luffy's running from these flames, he pulls out a new one called the Blade of Nothingness, Vohu. And I tried to look this up, and I saw there was some translation for this in the Hebrew Bible, the original Bible translations. Yeah, it was here. Yeah, it was here. Something about a biblical faith. No, right? Let me see. So I found a couple different translations for this. Zoroastrian. Okay, that I think that's the religion the ancient Persians practiced. Okay, that's something. There was something here. Formless or void. This one, yeah, the biblical phrase was the one that caught my attention. I wonder if this was like he forms a sword out of nothing. That's what I was thinking. This might be what Oda's referencing here. So he pulls out this new blade again, and it's got an interesting guard too. It looks like it reminds me of like a cutlass, and I'm not sure what the guard's supposed to be. It's different. It's very different. I like how Oda's too very consistent with having different guards in the sword. And he pulls this thing out, and this is the final part of the sword. He kind of like locks in on Luffy here. Even though, so Luffy's trying to run around those swords, and so he's watching. He's kind of looking at Luffy as he's running along. But it feels like this sword's like a sniper rifle, and he starts finishing off saying, "You're not Luffy. I mean, you're not Joy Boy." All right, so as Luffy's running, the one of the flames finally catch onto him, and this is kind of what I was saying earlier. Now, so I was correct. Those flames, when they get onto someone, they are definitely some kind of homing mechanism. So look where he is. So you can see here, Imu's way down here, and Luffy's like probably a mile away or more. Once that flame touches Luffy, he immediately uses the sword, activates some trigger word probably or something, and he is able to impale Luffy with it. And he goes, "I know you're not Joy Boy. He was not this weak." And then the chapter just ends right there. And of course, it's like I love how Oda likes to do this. So he really likes to impale Luffy like this. This reminds me of the shot with Crocodile like this. But that is very interesting too, and I like this shot too because it shows how big Emu is. He's probably, I feel like with his height, I was thinking he was big as Whitebeard earlier, but now it's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, this flame technique, I don't know. I feel like Luffy's gonna have to. You know what it might be? I'm thinking. I was bringing up the hockey earlier. Maybe he has to keep his Conqueror's hockey on all the time. The way we saw Shanks do it when he went on Whitebeard's ship. I wonder if that would be the counter to this, to keep it from these flames from getting close to his body. So yeah, Oda went for the thing here too, I think, where he's like, it's like, okay, I'm gonna set up a fight here, the fight with Luffy, but then I'm gonna come back. I feel like there's gonna be a few chapters before Luffy is in the fight again. We're gonna probably switch to Zoro and Sanji, and I hope though too we get like a flashback at some point with this. Yeah, there's something going on here with Emu and this stuff that I really want to go over in another chapter, but I'm just like there's too much to process here. Like what is going on with him and his abilities? And I hope Luffy just like catches on. I'm just wondering how Luffy is going to catch on with his Emu's abilities to be able to counter him. Because now it just feels like we got his. This feels like an opponent that really will challenge Luffy in a way that's closest we've seen since like Doflamingo or Emu and not Emu. Eneru, because they have a certain versatility that Luffy has to be very cognizant of to beat them. And I know Luffy's definitely not out for the fight, but I like how they. This really is Luffy's biggest loss. I was thinking though too. I was wondering how this was going to go back to his biggest loss because when he first transformed, Oda was pretty careful with how Luffy was fighting Kaido. He didn't clearly have a big advantage. He was still like learning how to use his powers, and Kaido got a few good hits on him. And it was only once he got the Kizaru and Lucci that he really was doing really well. Kizaru still gave him trouble too. And this is like just since Kaido, this is the first time. So this is his no, really, what is this? His fifth big fight as in Gear 5. It just I like that they're doing this, of course, too, because Oda's showing, oh, he's still got room to grow. This is something he has to be better at. I'm gonna leave this video here. Thanks for watching.